وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who gave us the divine support to get together again in one of his nights, which is our transportation to him, to improve our footsteps towards learning Islam and learning from each other. It is a ni'mah to be given every day a new day after that. In another word, as long as we are still alive, we can change our future simply in our hands. To talk about the will, or to talk about the inheritance, what comes to the heart of a believer, first of all, is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Holy Quran. Inna nahnu narithul arda wa man alayha wa ilayna yurja'un. Indeed, we will inherit the earth and whatever on it, and all of them will come back to us. Think about this ayah. Everything, the human being, and whatever they own, and so on, in the end, it belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are only there as caretakers, as people who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who gave them something to test them. Otherwise, we own nothing at all in this dunya, including our lives. We don't own it. It belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when we talk about inheritance, we start it like that. And if we start it like that, everything else will look so tiny in our mind. And this dunya weigh nothing to fight for. In another hand, we want to go to the rooms of people who are dying as family leaders and see what was their will to their family members. Starting with Ibn Sirin. When he was dying, he called his wife and his kids, and he said to them, my will to you is the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what is the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran? To all mankind, the Holy Quran says, وَلَقَدْ وَصَّيْنَا الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ وَإِيَّاكُمْ أَنِ اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ. We have made a will and give order and told those nations before you who have been given the book and yourself to do what? To fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when we say to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we can think deeply to know what is meant. When we fear somebody, what we do? We will never do anything against their will. We will never break their rules in the offices or in the workplaces. We will respect the time and go with the uniforms that they told us to come with. That's when we fear a human being. If you don't listen to them, they may disturb our salary. And we know what human do concerning that. But when we come to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we can see how reluctant we can be in that. The time is not respected. The uniform is not respected. The way of earning is not respected, and so on. And we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us take that into more consideration than when we deal with human beings, that who cannot bring forward or backward our risk or our provision. It is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when we talk about to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is when we look about our day-to-day life, by all means, and ask ourselves, is this the way a true servant and believer in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, believer on the judgment day, will live their life or do? Another will Ibn Sirin gave to his family is to fear Allah. فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَأَصْلِحُوا ذَاتَ بَيْنِكُمْ. وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. He told his family like that. Fear Allah and set things right among yourselves. Don't ever fight each other. And obey Allah and His Prophet. If you're serious when you say, I believe in Allah, obey Him. That was the will of a father and a husband when he was on the bridge between dunya and akhirah. And he summarized the effort of his life to his family, who Allah will question him on the judgment day about them. Mu'adh bin Jabal, radiallahu anhu, he remembered, and he used to say, I learned 10 words from the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. I will not go to all 10. It is as a will and a wasiyah from a prophet, the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, when he was in privacy with a man who was asking for advice. And what he said to him? The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam said to him, لا تشركن بالله شيئا وإن قتلت وإن حرقت. Do not associate or make a partner with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if you have been killed, if you have been threatened by death, don't. Or even if they want to burn you to death, don't ever make a partner with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't do that. وَلَا تَعُقَّنَّ وَالِدَيْكَ وَإِنْ أَمَرَاكَ أَنْ تَخْرُجَ عَنْ أَهْلِكَ وَمَالِكَ. And don't ever dare to be bad, verbally or in action to your parents, even if they did wrong to you, for example, and say to you, leave your money and leave your family. In another word, if your parents use your money, don't do wrong to them. Just pray for them and forgive them and find a way that you can react without being there to them because of money. It is only an example. Even if they tell you to leave your spouse, your husband or your wife, and this order coming from a father or mother, which they should not do if they are a mother and father who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and human rights. I'm only giving an example. Never be there to them. In another way, regardless what may happen, don't ever be there to your parents in the way you talk or you behave. وَلَا تَتْرُكَنَّ صَلَاةً مَكْتُوبَةً مُتَعَمِّدًا فَإِنَّ مَنْ تَرَكَ صَلَاةً مَكْتُوبَةً مُتَعَمِّدًا فَقَدْ بَرِئَتْ مِنْهُ ذِمَّةُ اللَّهِ. Don't ever dare to neglect a fard salat, because if you do deliberately delay a fard salat until the time passes, what happens? فَقَدْ بَرِئَتْ مِنْكَ ذِمَّةُ اللَّهِ. The safeguard, the care, the custody of Allah has been taken away from you. In another way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He doesn't care about you anymore, simply because you didn't care for Him. You made something akbar, greater than Him, and you ignore your appointment with Him, which we will never do when we do with other important things in our life. So never dare to neglect a salat and let the time pass. وَلَا تَشْرَبَنَّ الْخَمْرَ فَإِنَّهَا أَصْلُ كُلُّ فَاحِشَةٍ. And don't ever drink alcohol, wine, because that is the roots of any other evil. In another word, if you drink alcohol, there is no type of evil that you cannot commit. You will be able to do any sinful thing in your life. That's what alcohol does. It kills the fear of Allah in you and makes you dare to do anything that you will never do it when you are sober. وَلَا تَفِرَّنَّ مِنَ الزَّحْفِ وَإِنْ هَلَكَ النَّاسِ. I will stop on that point and leave the other four. And don't ever run away. When there is, for example, there is a fight, Islam has been attacked, or Muslims, and you are part of them, and then you say that, oh, I have to run away for my own safety. Don't ever do that. Never say that, I want to leave and let Islam die. In another word, we are facing problems in our time. And the topic we want to talk about tonight is one of them. And it is time for us to realize it will never stop. It is very repeated questions that they never go to the answer because they don't want it to stop. This has been very old game when they will say the Quran did wrong to women by giving the male double and giving the female half. Wrong statement. And they use the word male and female, which the Holy Quran never said. But the story is very old and long time ago. One of the presidents of Africa who said the same thing. And what he did, take a red pen and cross on the Quran in Surah An-Nisa on that ayah, saying that the Quran is doing injustice to female. This ayah should be deleted. And 10 Muslim scholars told him, you are a man of military, you know about military and so on, you don't know anything about the Sharia. Don't go into that field. They told him the truth. And he gave the order, they poured petrol on these 10 scholars and burned them to death. This is what happened. It means whatever has been repeated because they don't want to learn. And it's time for the Muslim to remember, believe me, they will never hurt Islam. All the arrows has been aimed towards Islam from a long time ago until today, and Islam will never die. And if there is a chance to be made, this chance needs to be into the Muslims, not Islam. The Muslims may not exist at all, and Islam will exist. That is how it was, written by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So talking about this topic, just put in our mind, first of all, they cannot hurt Islam, only the Muslims can. And also the Muslims cannot hurt Islam, but they hurt themselves. Whatever they say, it is part of the game that has been going on from a long time ago. But all we need to remember is that when the people pick this ayah and say, يُوصِيكُمُ اللَّهُ فِي أَوْلَادِكُمْ لِلذَّكَرِ مِثْلُ حَظِّ الْأُنثَيَيْنِ. It is one ayah, part of the ayah. And they put that on the light, and they ignore the rest of the pages, because that's what they want. And straight away change the topic and say that male and female, this is a sharing Islam. But they didn't clarify it and say that this is only to do with children. Only to do when the inheritance has been from both parents or one of the parents to the children, not to the rest of the bloodline or the relatives. And we know the reason, and every Muslim knows. Otherwise, why they don't read the ayah of the Kalala? When the boy and the girl, they will take equally 1/6 of the inheritance, sudus, and they have to make it half-half, equally. And the other way, both of them, the male and the female, will take the thuluth and divide it equally, half-half. And they will not read the ayah telling us, for example, if somebody dies and leave 2 parents and children, the 2 parents have 1/6, the mother and the father, and they will divide it equally. Don't apply the law of 1 male equal to 2 females, no. Versus, for example, if I die and I left my full brother and my 2 daughters and my mom, who will have more? My 2 daughters have the 2/3, and my mother have 1/8, and the rest, Sulsul Baqi will say that the asaba belong to my brother. And when we see he got less than my 2 daughters, they're all in the Quran. But I think we know now what is the aim. يُرِيدُونَ لِيُطْفِئُوا نُورَ اللَّهِ بِأَفْوَاهِهِمْ وَاللَّهُ مُتِمُّ نُورِهِ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْكَافِرُونَ. They want to extinguish the light of Allah through their words, with their mouth, and through the media. But it already written that Allah's nur will be complete, even if they don't like it. And for the Muslims, just stay with Islam, not because Islam needs us, but we need it. And that is the only way to be safe. So this topic reminds us to be together. And also we have to know how to react when the media comes up with something like that. And if you read the answer, brother Uthman Badr answer anyway. That's why one brother just walked in my room just then, and he gave me a full page of that one. I just saw it, and I said, actually, I don't need to talk anymore. I'm going to copy this and give it to everyone tonight before you leave home. It is already answered. And the same thing. And the brother saw why that he knew, he wasn't in the courtroom with me, but he knew what the journalists, what they added. He said, SubhanAllah, there are people who will remain always the bodyguards of Islam. And I want to be part of these bodyguards, knowing that Islam is already guarded. Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra, inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra, wa inna lahu lahafidun. It is we who reveal the dhikr, the Quran and Islam, and we will protect it and guard it. It is already done. If there was any other ism that has been attacked like this from day one until today, by now it is gone. But it's written that Islam will stay and everything else is battered will go away. So this topic is reminding us to remember that we are wanted. We are the target, and we need to know how to survive. And we have the right to survive, and we will. And our ideology will survive. And if we die, we pass it on to our children and tell them to be strong, because this is a market. And if you don't do the business properly now, we have no more other chances. We fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala day and night in our family lives, in our private lives. And when we are facing this type of things, we just remember, we just say no and be united. We have to keep saying from now on, no to anything. And we cannot afford to throw any Muslim behind, regardless who they are. Time to be together and let the word La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah truly work in us and bring the strength back. The strength that has gone due to the division and so on. So the inheritance truly, and when it comes to the boy and the girls, why? If I die and leave a boy and a girl, and leave, for example, $300,000, the boy will have $200,000 and the girl will have $100,000. This is the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But with ethics or feeling the responsibility, the girl can even say to the brother, oh my brother, I don't need this, you need it. And we know the system in Islam based on the Islamic life, based on the Islamic society and the Islamic perspective. If we try to use Islam or words of Islam without Islam, we are betraying all human society. People who will pick up this type of verses, they will not pick up the rest of Islam. It means they don't want the truth. They just want to pollute the mind of the innocent people to make them hate Islam by them claiming that we care for women more than Islam. That's why they're against this and that and everything. And when you ask them why, because we care for the women. Show us the care. Only Islam cares for the woman. If they're really serious in finding who cares for the woman, it is the one who created them. But this is a fact. A female in Islam doesn't have at all to spend any expenses in the house of the father, in the house of the husband. And the man is the one to take care of all of that. No wonder why. For example, when the boy will have 200,000 and the girl 100, just like extra, she doesn't need it. Because the boy has to look after her, and the boy getting married has to look after somebody else's daughter, and his own children and his parents, plus his own sister again, for example, if she didn't get married. Otherwise, this sister will get married and her inheritance still belong to her. And the husband has to do everything for her. As a wife, or sister, or mother, or daughter, all guaranteed. But if you say today, okay, both are working, those who need to apply this law from the Quran, first of all, you need to remember this is the law. If you want to give it away, and all agree, make it differently, just like the zakat, it is 2.5%. If you want to make it, give more, 50%, it is up to you, but no less than 2.5%. Always, it's happened when it comes to the akhlaq and the care, and many sisters, they say like that, I don't want this amount, you need it because you have to get married, you have to pay dowry and make everything ready for your wife and so on. But this daughter will be married and will be having a husband who will take care of her fully. And if she didn't get married, still this is extra in her life, this money. She doesn't have to spend on anything because the living man from the family have to do so. This is the law of Islam. But human society, if they think we have developed and go further and think that it is not accepted anymore, it haven't been accepted also in the beginning of Islam, because they used to give the female nothing before Islam. And Islam makes this compulsory, and the Holy Quran said it. Before they talk about the inheritance, لِلرِّجَالِ نَصِيبٌ مِمَّا تَرَكَ الْوَالِدَانِ وَالْأَقْرَبُونَ وَلِلنِّسَاءِ نَصِيبٌ مِمَّا تَرَكَ الْوَالِدَانِ وَالْأَقْرَبُونَ مِمَّا قَلَّ مِنْهُ أَوْ كَثُرَ نَصِيبًا مَفْرُوضًا. Both of them have shared from the inheritance, the man and the female. Sometimes the female have more, sometimes they have less, sometimes they have equally. It depends what type of responsibilities they have in life. So the value of the male and the female doesn't come through the money, but through the responsibility. And when it comes to responsibility, who have more responsibility have more values. And in the end, what happens? It is a decision made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to take care of both. Not to put somebody up and somebody down at all. But through the eyes of evil and discrimination and targeting Islam, they make that side of voices loud and they hide the rest. They never give the full picture, a picture to human society. As I promised, I will not talk long as the brother Uncle Suhan will come and tell us about how we can work it out. No, it is a social responsibility living together in such a society, how we can help each other to make our will according to Islam. Because in the end, we don't want to take something from somebody which Allah gave it to them. And we know the story of Sa'd ibn Rabi. When he died in the battle of Uhud, he became shaheed. He died, and his brother took all the money. What his wife did, Sa'd ibn Rabi's wife took the two daughters to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, and she said, "O Messenger of Allah, as you know, Sa'd ibn Rabi became shaheed, and he left these two daughters, but the uncle took everything, nothing left." This is when the ayah of inheritance came down. And the Prophet ﷺ called the uncle, the brother of Sa'd ibn Rabi, and told him, this man died and he left a wife and two daughters. You have to give 1/8 to the wife and 2/3 of the wealth to the two daughters, and the leftover is yours, which means the brother had less. So not issue of men have more than female, it is a responsibility that Islamic society knows. And anyone who believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and follow the truth, they know it. But the media will never be, and those who have evil in their heart will never be, but the Muslims will have to remain calm and know how to react as a society when something like this happens. Otherwise, the real will we need to remember, truly, is to help each other while we are alive now. To fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our day-to-day life, to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our family life. It is a will from the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam to every boy and every girl never be the reason for a drop of tear come out from your father or your mother. That drop can drown you. Dunya and akhirah. Be very careful. That's what you mean when you say, don't ever disturb your parents in whatever way. This is a real will and the best we can leave behind. When we die and our parents look what we left behind, we leave obedience and we leave good memories. But if you don't give them good time, and then we die and leave millions with them, they may even say, we don't need this money, and whatever belongs to this kid, because his life was just like a curse on us. And if we know that our son or daughter will turn life upside down like us, we will pray to Allah to make us get couple with no kids. Many people don't know what to do, but Allah knows what to do. Don't worry, you are not alone. But let them know the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fear Him in your everyday life. Be a Muslim, even if we have to be killed. A true believer will never die. We only use the death as the pathway to the real life, back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the real will that I want to tell you now, and I will give the chance to Uncle Suhail. And at the same time, somebody bought books for you. It is concerning the Islamic will and the law of England and the Wales. But the book was not enough, but he paid for it and said to give it to the brothers as sort of Algeria. But every family can take one book, inshallah. I have only 8 copies of it from the bookshop, so every family don't take more than one. It is very good one. It will help in how to make our will according to the Sharia and the law as well. Brothers, yeah?
Brother, one question. You're talking about giving your daughter 1 share and son 2 shares. And according to Islamic will, it would be like that.
Yeah.
But during your lifetime, can you give hibah or gift equal amounts?
Yeah, in your lifetime, we have to be it anyway, because the Prophet ﷺ, when a man came to him and said, I gave this to my son, and he asked him, did you give equally to the rest of your children? He said, no. He said, okay, I don't want to be witness on injustice. In our lifetime, we have to make sure we give whatever we want, but make sure don't cause fitna. Fitna means, if one of the kids realize that our dad gave more to this one, because we can die sometime and leave fitna in the family. We can do whatever we want in a way that no fitna. Otherwise, when it comes to our children, equally we give it to them in our lifetime. Because when we die, that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's will now. When we die, it doesn't belong to us anymore.
No, but can that gift be challenged afterwards from an Islamic point of view? Say, for example, you gave 1 share to your daughter and 1 share to your son, equal shares. After your death, can this be challenged? Because they say, well, this is not according to Islamic division of wealth.
As long when you are doing that, your intention, not a joy in the dhulm. Like if we try to divide it in that way, to hurt somebody is different. That is of course not allowed. But in your lifetime, whatever we give to our children, it is up to us. And we have to be very just in that, because we will never be wiser than the Sharia anyway. The way Allah made it, it is, we don't know the future, but He knows. But in your lifetime, whatever you do, you just make sure it doesn't cause fitna. But once we die, our belongings, it is already divided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And nobody can change that. Even if you make a will to give some to somebody who doesn't inherit, it cannot be more than 1/3. The rest is already divided in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we have to be very careful and care in our lifetime what we give to them and don't cause fitna. When the heart agrees, even if we die, and all of them say, look, we don't want anything. We'll give everything to this kid. It's up to them. As long as they agree, they even can change the will. Not from the law, but their agreement. No, this is my right, but I agree, I will give the whole lot to this person. As long as no fight. But when there is a fight, it is already decided in the book of Allah, and nobody can go against that.
Because there are examples like Hazrat Abu Bakr. He gave away most of his wealth to the Islamic treasury.
Yeah.
So he hardly left anything for his family. So that is an example.
And that's why with Abu Bakr and his family, the Prophet ﷺ, he allowed Abu Bakr to do that. But when somebody else tried, he said to him, no, you better leave your family rich, don't leave them poor and they go around and begging. And Umar came with half. And when Abu Bakr was asked, what did you leave for your family? And he said, I leave for them Allah and His Rasul. It means he knows who his family are. That would mean we need to understand the family. And the Prophet ﷺ, in one of the battles he gave to the Muhajirin, and he didn't give to the Ansar anything. And they got angry with the Ansar. And when he explained to them, I give people, and my heart is with those who I didn't give. It's nothing to do with evaluation at all. It is treating humans heart. Which means Abu Bakr's family was fully, they understand what it means to help Allah and His Rasul. But the Prophet ﷺ, he knew that. But to the other side, he said, no, give it to your family. Which means he knows the family situation in another way to understand the fact. And then we can make this type of decisions. As I promised, I will copy the thing inshallah for you. It's very good to go because the brother answered very nicely to the media and we will have a copy to it inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. I will talk, I'll give you a short talk essentially on the system of wills and the law of intestacy in Australia and how that can be applied to Islamic wills. Now, the Imam has explained to you that the division of the estate is the property and money which you leave behind, should be done according to what the Quran says. So if the Quran says a certain amount has to go to the daughter, a certain amount has to go to the son, a certain amount has to go to the wife, if you spell that out when you are drafting your Australian will, because Australian will is the will that will be easily recognized in a court of law, then there is no reason why what is required by Islam cannot be implemented in Australian law. So that Australian law and Islamic law do not clash as far as the wills are concerned. The law of intestacy does clash with Islam. Law of intestacy is that when you die and you leave your estate without a will, when you leave your estate without a will, then whoever is the executor of your estate or the public trustee or whoever else will divide the property according to the laws laid down in Australia. So they are not the same as the Islamic laws. So the shareholders, female and male, would get, or daughter and son would get equal shares. So if the laws of intestacy apply. So to conform to the Islamic requirements, what I would advise all of you is to make a will according to the Islamic requirements, and make a will which is accepted in the Australian court. To make an Australian will, which comes under the Australian law, but conforms to the requirement of Islam. In making a will, there are four players, four actors. One is the testator, the one whose estate is being divided, the person who has died. The second is an executor. Executor of the will is the person who is actually the one who will administer the estate, the property and the cash and the money and the shares, whatever is left behind. And then, of course, there should be a proper witness to the will. The will which is not witnessed is not acceptable in a court. And fourthly, of course, there would be the people who will benefit from the will, which are called benefactors. So when you are making a will, make sure that you have a person, you go to a lawyer who will help you with your requirements and put all that down in the will. And you have a proper witness, a legal person who is not insane, who is not less than 18 years of age, who has not been convicted, all that sort of thing. A person whose attestation will be accepted by the court. And then, of course, you dictate your requirements to the lawyer who will draft it according to the law of that particular state. Now remember one thing, that wills come into effect only when you die. Wills do not come into effect when you are alive. So you can change your will anytime. And in fact, you should change your will when your personal circumstances change. In most cases, the personal circumstances would be, say, the birth of another child, or if you had given something to your parents and the parents have passed away during the course of that will, or indeed in the unfortunate circumstance when you and your wife are no longer together, you're divorced, then your personal circumstances have changed. So you have to revisit your will. And the will that is the latest is the valid will. So if you have done a will 2 or 3 years ago, that's fine. But the moment you do another will, all the previous wills are superseded. So that is one of the essential parts of a will, that you should put all that down. Make sure that you, in Australian system, normally what they do is they make the executor of the will someone who's a lot younger than you, who's likely to outlive you. There's no point in having an executor who's dead. By the time you pass on and the executor has already died, then there's no one to execute the will. So normally they have 2 executors, one after another. So if one person dies, then the other is effective. You don't have to change the will. And any money or anything which you want to give before you start distributing to your children and to your family members or people who will inherit you should be stated first. Say, I want to leave $5,000 for the Canberra Islamic Center. So that should be stated. All the donations should be stated first, and whatever is left, then you divide it according to in our case, according to the laws of Islam, as Brother Imam had enunciated in his talk. Remember one thing about wills. Wills need a probate to become effective. Probate meaning that you have to produce the will in front of a court of law. And the court looks at the will and sees that everything is in order, and then they issue what is called a probate. Probate means that they stamp it, and it becomes a court order after that. So the executor is bound by the law to do all things incidental in the will. So whatever is spelled out in the will, the executor has to do it. He cannot change from there. If he does, he is disobeying a court order. It's not your will anymore. It is the order of the court. So to get a probate, your will should be done by a lawyer. I do not recommend people doing those will kits, etc., because you can make an error. The problem with wills is that you are not there in front of the judge when the will is open, because you are gone. So the judge does not know one to turn to understand what you were actually willing, or what you wanted your estate to, what you wanted to happen to your estate. So that is why it has to be absolutely, foolproof. Now, normally any lawyer, any law firm would do a will for you. They charge you $300 or $400, I think, for a simple will, and that is quite cheap because the involvement and the cost is more than that, but they do it as a matter of social service. I mean, to the Canberra Islamic Center members, I say that if anyone wants any assistance in preparation of a will, I am more than happy to help. And noting the fact that we are building a masjid, I would request a $100 donation, which is a lot less than $300 or $400 which you pay to another lawyer. You just deposit $100 with Brother Ali Akbar, and you will have a will. And inshallah in the Islamic form. So I think that is all I've got to say. If you want to ask me any questions, I'm happy to answer.
So the executors can be friends, family members,
yes,
or state members?
Executor should be someone you can rely on. Mostly they are friends or family, but not people who might be adversely affected by your will. You know, or benefactors should not be executors. That is obvious. Any other question? Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Yes, Brother Ahmad.
The Islamic will is based on shares of those who are alive in the moment of death. Is that acceptable by